Hello, all. Hi, sister.
Hello, 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 hello.
Welcome
We're back.
back. Welcome back into another episode of Still. As always, we're so heartfully warmed that you are taking this time out of your day. We know y'all are abundant. You got kids, you got life, you got jobs, you got aspirations, and it does not fall far from us that this is your time and you're taking it to spend it with us. And so we really thank you in that. This episode is the third one since we're back. And we shared with you that a lot has happened for us since August 8th of 2024, which was Lionsgate, which was our 1 year celebration for Still as a podcast, as a community. And this round, we are anchoring deeper and deeper into the mission and the movement that is Still, that is being the lighthouse for the healing, breaking a lot of generational ancestral patterns so we can have these tough conversations, being the bridge. We talk about being the bridge a lot. And so today we're going to talk about what is to come because we do have some really exciting plans for you. We'll share that at the end. But we really want to talk about digesting loss and
Yeah,
the heaviness. Stacey, you said before we hit record, the like weighted blanket of just like dripping in the grief.
yeah. Just being completely drenched with loss. And yes, this could be loss by way of death, where in my life right now, I'm experiencing multiple deaths. I mean, days apart from each other, all unexpected and all very suddenly. And life shifts and it's very jarring, obviously. And so there is the loss from death and there's lots of grief and there's your own personal grief and loss that you sense and feel. And then for the people who are in it with you, it's your grief for them and with them and their sense of loss because everyday life is going to look different from here on out. And there's that. So there is the loss from death. There is also another kind of loss, which is loss of a way of being, loss of yourself. Like I lost myself in something. There's loss of certain situations, certain relationships. And there is a grieving process that we all get to go through and we get to own how we go through it. There are going to be those stages of grief, the anger and rage, the confusion and chaos and questioning, the bargaining and negotiating, the sense of acceptance of it, and then the repeating of certain emotions and things, the sadness. And so, in recognition of what we shared before, that it was our intention to come back to you much sooner than now. And life had other plans for us. Life threw us lots of opportunities to digest loss of life, loss of relationships, loss of certain situations. And we needed the time, quite honestly. And we needed to have that time individually to be in our healing and to digest what's happening and to collectively come together and how we support each other in that healing and what's coming up. And so, what you'll see from us moving forward will be the output of how we were able to do all of that. That doesn't mean that we're completely on the other side either. It just means that we're now at a place where we're ready to be able to share how we've been digesting loss and grief collectively and individually and in many different ways. So that's what's coming. And that's why we're here very raw with you today and saying, this is what's been happening behind the scenes. There have been deaths and there have been other kinds of losses. And so we're here to, I don't want to say normalize because I don't like when we say we want to normalize something, but we're here to say this is common and it's okay to still show up in your grief and to show up in loss and to show up in support of the people you say you love and you care about. And we don't need to isolate and we don't need to, just bury ourselves and hide. We still get to show up because of the mission and because of the vision that we have for our still community. So that's why we're here today talking about how we digest grief and loss enough to be able to still show up for the world, for ourselves, for each other. So yeah, we're talking about digesting the
And I
losses.
think for you and our friendship, I don't even want to say it's become normal, but it's I guess, not shocking to my body anymore to get a text from you or a phone call from you in that place of there's been a death, there's been another death, there's been a tragic thing that has happened. And now I've lost someone else in my family, my friend, my husband's friends. There's like no amount of plants that I can send to you
Yeah,
for all of that loss. Now I sent her a
yeah.
plant, y'all. I sent her a
It's
good plant.
beautiful.
Do you
It's so
know
sweet.
so I wanna shout out that plant company, Michel's. I need to look it up. So it is this
She's right
company.
there. I wonder if I still have the little thing, but she's right there.
Do you know that the owner of this company, and I think this is just so beautiful, they sent me a card thanking them for the order and that they know that Stacy enjoyed this and that it brought her some peace in a really difficult time of
Oh.
loss. Handwritten, Stacy.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. This is a local company or this is
Yes. I
oh,
found them
wow.
on Google and it was the energy. This is who I'm
Yeah.
using anytime I need to send something to Stacy.
Thank you.
So if
Yeah,
I
it was
find
so
them,
good. It was
let's
so good.
see.
Yeah, we want to shout them up for sure.
Because you just don't find companies that do that
You
anymore.
don't. You
And
don't.
Mishler's Florist and Greenhouse,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mishler's in
I'm gonna hold on to that.
Williamsville.
Yeah, down the road. Listen, y'all, let me tell you about this beautiful sentiment. The moment I found out about in this slew of losses that I've experienced in February into March, the moment I found out and I was able to process enough to be able to communicate, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being, Mama Janet, passed. And she's in Florida. And I talked to Jill that day and because we were supposed to record that day and just was not in a place to be able to even think about that. Same day, Jill reached out to the florist and sent me I'm going to take a picture of it so we can upload it and put it in there. This beautiful palm plant and with the sentiment of, hey, she's in Florida, you get to have a piece of her with you right here. And so I name all of my plants and flowers. And so I named her Janet. Sherry, my bestie sister cousin. That's a whole other story. How we found out we're cousins when we ended up being best friends in college. But yeah, Sherry, I'll send you a picture of Janet. She's a beautiful plant, and she's sitting in my office with me. That is something that helped me start to immediately digest the grief, things like that. And it's not that people have to spend money, it's the thought, right? Like, wow,
Well,
I'm thinking of you and
there's
holding
been
you
a
in this
lot of
space.
there's been a lot of loss in your life, and it is the first time I've sent you a plant in like a year or more. So I think as a friend or someone that's holding someone, because I think it can be a real tendency of a gesture to turn to like to send something, or which is great. If we'd be local, probably would try my best to cook you something. Like I think food is good, but I will probably not ever match up to your cooking. I try. Y'all, I had to ask Stacey how to make coconut rice one time. I was like, "Wait, how do you
Coconut
get it?"
lime rice.
I was like, "How do you get it to be this flavor?" Because I put like coconut y'all don't even wanna know what I was doing. Anyways, when
She
you
got
are
it together.
holding someone in this, trust the relationship because I don't know. My body, my intuition was like, this is the one. You just have to trust because the amount of loss that you've experienced is one that also has you and I reflecting on. Well, I've said to you before, like, God, if we could have met sooner in our life.
Right, right.
And because there's like a 15-year difference with our
Mhm.
friendship. And I was then brought to sadness of I was counting down, oh my God, how much more time do I have with Stacy?
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
much more what's gonna happen? Her parents, my parents. It's just
Mhm.
this being human. Um, that as we get past the threshold, if you're on the back end of this experience,
Yeah.
it just is like, fuck.
I mean, you think about your own mortality and you're like, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, I've got more years, behind me than I have ahead of me. It's one thing to say it, but to cross over 40 or 50 or 60, and to really feel that and sense that and to see people leaving this earth regularly that it's like, oh, okay, okay, with finite time, how do I really want to be spending it? How do I truly want to be connecting to my purpose? How much longer am I going to allow myself to be bogged down in what other people think about me and how I'm living my life when I've got finite time? We all have finite time, but traditionally, you would expect that if you're 20, you're going to outlive someone who's like 40 or 50, right? Barring accidents and tragedies and all of that. So when you get over that threshold, well, damn, what is my life? What is it even? Like, what is this all about? We're walking in this human experience together, and we could be so bogged down by all of the grief, all of the losses,
Mm.
and we just stay there and we're not really living. And like, yeah, it hurts. It hurts like all get out. It hurts to lose people and situations and relationships and all those things. And shouldn't, I would think, that should call us forward into real life. Like, okay, so what are we doing? Who are we being? Who are we really showing up to be for ourselves, for each other, for our communities, for what we stand for? Who are we being? Because you go to all of these funerals and you hear these beautiful eulogies and words of comfort and all of these things. And it's so wonderful when that person's life truly matched up with what people are saying. It's beautiful when that happens. It doesn't happen all the time for everyone. And we get cut short in our mission. I know people, the people who I've lost, I know that these people walked their mission. They lived their purpose. They truly showed up exactly as they were being called to show up in this world. That also helps me in digesting the grief. Because, yeah, I'm human, I'm selfish, I want you here with me. And I see it as a gift that I got to have you for the time that I got to have you, and that the whole world is now different and blessed because you were here. That's what I'm talking about in terms of legacy living. Like when I talk about that with my clients and all of that too, it's like, what are we doing right here and right now to live the legacy we intend to leave behind? That can also help someone like me who's thinking about this stuff all the time to digest the grief and the loss. Like, what do I take from this? What is the gift in this? And sometimes when the grief is that dark, it's hard to see the gift, but there is. I promise you, there is a gift in it somewhere. Digesting the grief is part of the process. It's hard to get to the gift if we're refusing to digest the grief. So, yeah, we did. Jill and I gave ourselves some time to digest lots of grief and lots of loss. And that doesn't mean, as I said, we're on the other side of it. We're just at a place where we can poke our heads up and say, it's time. Now it's time. And it's time for us to clarify our mission and our purpose and our vision for this still community. And we get to be in our humanity and saying, we're coming to you from a place of grief.
Yeah. I think for me, when you're talking about this legacy life, like legacy living, I found the devastation, bring me to my knees grief that I am now able to digest has had me realize I had such a like fire to be leaving behind a legacy that it was driving me to actually be burnt out. So it was like, no, but I don't, there's not time. There's not time. There's not time. It's now. It's now. It's now. We will go into this on a series because we're going to be bringing you all. We heard from you that you enjoyed these series. And so we will be, I think the title might be like the mother wound. So I will be sharing more about this, but what happened for me that week of 8/8 was I was pregnant and lost that pregnancy in a really, I don't know the word, it's like aggressive. It was just a real abrupt, shocking to my system way that all of it had to go down. Um,
Yeah.
and this is, I think, the first time I'm vocalizing it beyond our conversations. I've written
Mm-hmm.
about it to my community in my newsletter, but I was supposed to be on a retreat. So Stacy and I were inside this highest level practice that you can do with the work that we teach, which is Ishtara, somatic movement practice. And I was supposed to be there. like 2 or 3 weeks before that, I found out I got pregnant on, like, literally my 40th birthday, which was also shocking and wild, and my body was in so much pain. I had so much pain on my right side and my, like, right side of my back, and it felt like I'd pulled a muscle. Y'all know I'm an athlete, so, like, I was doing everything I could do to tune in, like,
Mhm.
really felt like it was a pulled muscle. And for those of you that have been through this and or had the worry or had an ectopic pregnancy, these things are taken really seriously when you're in. I mean, I'm telling you, I could not even sit up. I mean, it was the most
Yep.
excruciating pain. And so then it just became this whole dialogue of doctor's visits with a brand new set of doctors because my gyno no longer does OB pregnancies. And I swear that week I will always remember, but it's the bruises from all the blood work on my
Mhm.
arms, the not knowing, the fear for my own life, the fear that this pregnancy wouldn't hold, and then got the news that the pregnancy wasn't viable, which is literally the words from the doctor that I have not even met
Yep.
coming from my phone. And it was a really hard week because my dear friend is in retreat. People are trying to support me. And that's when I think, honestly, Stacey, it's like the virtual sisterhood can really suck in times like that.
Yep.
Like, there's no amount of phone calls because
Right.
you checked in with me all the time. You're at the airport. She's calling me. She's calling me when I wouldn't answer. You just need people to be around. And you and I talk about it a lot. That's another grief that I have. Why can't we
Yes.
live close?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
trust that we don't, but maybe you'll come back to Georgia someday. I'm joking. That would be closer. That would
That
be
would be
closer.
closer.
I know I'm
That would be
joking.
closer.
But that week was really, really rough. And I'm really grateful that my body was able to respond and release this in a natural way because my brain had planned to take the medication. My body gracefully was like,
Mhm.
yeah, no, we got this. I
Mhm.
got you. And
Mhm.
I will continue to tell everyone. And now I am the greatest advocate I will be as I continue to move through this because if Stacy, my dear best friend, would not have called me, I was sitting outside on the patio. I have you on speakerphone. I can't even manage anything because the stress you
Mhm.
can probably hear in my voice right now because
Mhm.
this is the
Mhm.
digesting. My voice wants to give out. Stacy, you said I have something to tell you, and I don't know if I should share it with you or not, but I have to share it with you because if I don't share it with you, I wouldn't be able to like live with myself, something along those lines. And if you would not have shared with me your experience, it would have been a real even more, I think, difficult thing to walk through in the death release
Yeah.
when that moment started. Because these doctors are just, at least the ones I had, which I will not be going back to this group, but they did fine. They did okay. I'm calling in a different one for if we are blessed, but they just do not offer preparation. Oh,
Right.
you're gonna have cramps and it's gonna be like a heightened period cramp.
Right. Right.
And
That's the message.
in what existence? And this is coming from women doctors. Girl, you
Mhm.
have a period. You walk it through
Mhm.
a cycle. You know what cycle cramps are. Don't get me wrong. Some months can be more aggressive than others.
Absolutely.
Cramp, like you could be laid up in the bed,
Absolutely.
diarrhea, your cramps are bad. That's just what it is walking as a woman and that
Exactly.
experience. But when you are preparing to release what was once life and sharing with someone that it's gonna be heightened period cramps.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I knew I would never I would never want you to have that as the thought and have a different reality because that dissonance in and of itself causes a lot of stress and panic and all the like, is this normal? Should I go to the hospital? Like, what's happening? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And yes, everyone's pregnancy release experience is very different. Not every woman will have the same level of violent trauma in terms of the pain. I know women who didn't even notice other than a blood clot. I didn't even know I was pregnant. And then, yeah, or yeah, I knew I was. And oh, wow. I know women across the whole spectrum, but I knew knowing you and how you walk through life was like, this will be way too much for her to have then this shock. So I just was compelled to say to you, here's what I need you to know. This is a possibility and this is what it could be like. I don't care what they told you. It's not that always. So expect that it could be this. Yeah, I was just yeah, I remember where I was too at that very moment and
Think you're in
having
the
that
airport.
conversation.
Were you in the airport?
I was getting ready to leave for the airport.
Yeah.
Like in the airport is when everything had started. And yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we will go into all of this more because we're going to bring you all a series on all of this because this is a path that Stacy has walked, which is how she
Multiple
could
times.
multiple times
Yeah.
and which is why she could share that with me. And that's also supporting the digestion of loss is when you have people in your life that are not scared of what you are going through because they are too involved in their emotions of what you are going through.
Yeah.
Which that was a whole other realization when you're really in
Yes.
it, when you're dealing with someone passed away and you're the one experiencing trying to plan for the funeral, trying to take care of all of the people, which thankfully I have also been on that side when I've lost an aunt. She was very young. I know that. So I can then step outside of my own stuff to be able to support somebody. This is a lot. That she's holding to then also you're trying to hold yourself. And same with inside of this, I really had a chance to outside and look of, damn, people really get stuck in their own shit. And then it's comparing, I'm going through this and I can't, I just don't have it in me to show up. And that's where the whole question for me, when I'm like on the underbelly of all of this, and we will continue to talk about this on this show of then what is the purpose? Why
Right.
are you listening to all of these things, going to all the developmental growth things, the spiritual growth, the business development?
Right.
Why are you doing all those
What's
things?
the point if you're not going to use it when it's
Thank you.
needed? Because this is not all the spiritual healing and all this stuff. This is not for convenience. This is not for
Show and
when
tell. This shit ain't
you
show and
are
tell.
well situated and now I'm ready to show up. When someone needs you, they need you now. They need you now. And it may be very inconvenient for you emotionally, and it may be very inconvenient for you just practically, but that's when they need you. How will you choose to show up? Will you be stuck in your own stuff? And when we're talking about loss of pregnancy, loss of life, we're going to go into this deeper, but there's so much to unravel in that. Like we get to reclaim all of it. I don't use the word miscarriage. I hate that word.
Don't use
I
it.
hate it. I hate it. That is not, and the reason I hate it, and we'll go into it later, is that literally the way the word is put together is that I did something wrong. I carried the pregnancy
And
incorrectly,
incorrectly.
improperly, and it's my fault. Like I did something right. So even the way we label and name the traumatic things that we go through, that can keep us stuck in our own stuff or like there's shame. This whole thing is shrouded in shame and secrecy and hiding and all this stuff. And I have been guilty of that. I'm not sharing that. I'm not sharing that with people. I had my reasons for not sharing it. It wasn't for shame. It was more around, I don't want to deal with other people's stuff. I know you can't meet me and hold me in that space. What's the point of me sharing this with you? I'm just not going to share it. But
Can
that
you
stuff
think
will
about
get
that
in.
though? A year ago, it was probably about a year from August, the previous October, it was teacher training, and you felt compelled to share and name your children, name your
Absolutely.
spirit babies. And
Present every single one of
you
them.
and I had the experience of remembering on an actual soul level, ancestral level, which if any of you have a chance to sit with Stacy and I in person and these parts of ourselves choose to show up, I take it with the greatest sacred remembrance. And you
Yeah.
offered this part to me in Belize for my wedding, little wedding. What are we calling it? Wedding
It was your
party,
bridal ceremony.
bridal ceremony. Like, I'm just remembering that that happened and you opened up and shared. And I think the importance here is y'all just can't possibly know if you can walk through that threshold of fear to share the things that you've experienced. You cannot know the timing, the impact. It will often go unknown to you. So it is
Yeah.
the trusting that me following the urge and the trust of my
Right.
intuition to share this now, although I literally cannot understand why I am sharing this,
Right.
because we can now, in this instance, piece some of these things together. And I am so grateful you're in my life. We are friends. You had the courage to speak about all of your loss, to then be able to really hold me virtually, which it felt like you were here, but in this actual loss that then I walked. And so I think the other piece is, as we kind of close today, is like just maybe recollect, like, everybody digests grief differently. For me, this time away from like recording and being in this community has offered me a really deep well of clarity. And back to the point of like leaving legacy, the things that I'm up to now are on what feels like the highest frequency of truth of who the heck I really am.
Mhm.
And so for that, I'm grateful for the medicine of this level of actual loss, felt sense loss in my body, because our little Forest May now will just forever be guiding me back and back and back. And we'll bring you all more of this. So stay tuned, because we will be we're going to bring guests on for the mother wound. That'll be coming later this year. And then another offering we're going to have, another little series, is going to be, y'all love the one we did last time on sisterhood. So we're going
Mhm.
to bring that back, but this is 2.0.
Yep.
We're going in. We're going to bring some guests. We're really going to break it down, what we see is happening in these realms of sisterhood. Uh,
Absolutely.
and I put quotes around it because that's it. We're dissecting it all. And I think lastly is, remember this round, we have ways that you can be with Stacy and I a little deeper in becoming a Lighthouse listener. It's $11 a month, y'all, and you get access to us. You get access to a private chat group we're pretty excited about. We give you real bite-sized, truly, you can take this teaching that we will give you, utilize it right now in your life. Um,
Absolutely.
and they're topics pulled from the episodes. And so you can find that over on our website. You can join our Patreon community. You could also become a sister of Still. That's a way to truly just support our mission and what we're up to. And we're grateful to have you inside our community as well.
So
Either way,
grateful.
all the ways.
So grateful. However you show up, that's all welcome. We're
It's
we're
all
happy
welcome.
to be with you. It is our joy.
Same time, same place next week, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, wherever you choose to listen. We love you all.
Love you. Bye for now.